And today, you've got a special treat. I'm going to leave enough time and actually do a live UI demo with you. Not just slide presentation. We'll go through that first to kind of make sure you all get the high-level details of what the solution is. And then I'll jump right into the Wi-Fi cloud, and we'll take it for a spin. And I think that'll be great for you all to get some experience with the user interface. And you can ask questions as we go. Like Tim said, just type those in the Q&A section there, and we'll handle it as we go. So first up, what the Wi-Fi solution is comprised of at WatchGuard are physical access points, obviously. We have indoor and outdoor APs.
The attendees are now muted.
We'll get to that in the next slide. The feature sets on these APs are unlocked when they're managed by the Wi-Fi cloud. So you've got a combination of AP hardware and a publicly hosted cloud from WatchGuard here. And when those APs are managed by that cloud, that's when all of the bells and whistles light up on the APs. Some of those features, the big notable ones that we'll step through today together are verified comprehensive security, Wi-Fi hacking, a very vague and ambiguous term, I'll admit. And WatchGuard is here, and I'm here today to demystify some of Wi-Fi hacking and the security risks around that. Cloud management at scale. So as you get into different customer networks and you're spinning them up and onboarding them, or you're growing with them, it's important to be able to scale the management of the wireless network as that customer account grows. Maybe multiple offices, or the offices are getting bigger and they're hiring people. That's also an important topic to mention. Guest Wi-Fi. Believe it or not, one of the fastest growing segments in the business class Wi-Fi segment out there is plain and simple public guest Wi-Fi, maybe just for people in a waiting area of a business, or guests that are coming into an office, or even in certain retail customers you may have. Very popular use case there, and a very nice feature set that I'll walk you guys through related to guest Wi-Fi, and also getting some return on investment. So your customers actually feeling an ROI by deploying access points that can show them information like how often do people return back to their offices or their locations, etc. And the last bullet point is specifically for you all, intelligent network visibility and troubleshooting. I think everybody on the line will sympathize with this point, that when you deploy access points or any kind of networking gear at a customer's site, being able to monitor them and respond to issues and troubleshoot remotely without having to send a technician on site is absolutely paramount in keeping your profitability up and making sure that you can maintain that level of quality and service to your customers. And there's a nice feature set here to talk through about that bullet point. So first up, I thought I would actually go through the access points themselves just to make sure everyone is familiar with the product line. Quick snapshot here, and I've got a slide on each one, is you can take these APs indoors or outdoors, and we have, the reason why we have different models are to deal with what we call client density. So on the far left, the AP125 is kind of your entry-level access point, and it has a certain kind of amount of throughput, much like you'd be sizing a firewall here. You would size an access point based off of how many people are going to connect to it at one time and how much traffic are they going to send through it. And on the right-hand side, that's our high-density access point, the AP420. You can fit a lot more people on that access point, and they can consume a lot more traffic. So the sizing is relatively familiar, hopefully, if you're dealing with just plain old network sizing. And to get right into the AP125, it's our smallest physical package. So we call it the Great Wi-Fi Security in a Small Package. It is a 11 AC Wave 2 indoor access point. On the 2.4 gigahertz radio, you'll get people cruising up to 300 megabits per second throughput, and around 867 megabits per second on the 5 gigahertz radio. So there's 2 radios inside of that product. There's also 2 gigabit Ethernet ports. Important to mention, if you're dealing with customer networks where they would like to tap into the network from an access point, they can do that. So if there is a network drop going to this AP, there is another Ethernet port on the back side of the access point, and you can continue the rest of your network from there as well. It only requires, this is the lower power version of PoE, so 802.3AF. It runs on a lower power mode, so you don't need very hardcore PoE switching to run this. And WatchGuard also offers for sale PoE injectors that'll power this up as well. So the use case for this AP, right, it's your entry-level access point. It's great for small branch offices, maybe small footprint retail, or if you're dealing with classrooms. Also, you know, for those smaller, maybe K through 12 classrooms. Very good access point to choose from. Now, the AP322, that is our rugged outdoor access point. You can take this thing anywhere you want to go. We have these deployed in very cold, harsh environments outside, rainy, wet, humid environments, as well as really hot, humid environments all the way around. I think Australia was one of the most rugged use cases I've seen one of these deployed. So it's IP67 compliant. Deploy it in a rainstorm where it's windy or dusty, you're going to be okay. There's nice rubber grommets to make sure that the cable connection is watertight. This is a 3x3 product, and you'll see 450 megabits per second for a 2.4 gigahertz client, and over a gigabit per second for those 5 gigahertz client. It also has the 2 gigabit Ethernet ports like the 125s that I mentioned. You can also continue your network from here. However, important to note, this is an outdoor product, so it requires a higher power. So you need to have the PoE Plus power supplied to this access point. Again, WatchGuard offers a PoE Plus injector, or you can use a PoE Plus compliant switch to power this up. So great use cases for this would be your medium density environments like warehouses, outdoor areas of offices or cafes or shipping docks, schools, those outdoor areas where you need coverage, but you're worried about the weather environment. That's a great model to pick from. And the 325, this is a Wave 2 product. It's also indoor, and it's a higher density AP compared to the 125. So the reason to choose a 325 is if you have what we call medium density use case. So a typical office building, that's fairly, rest assured, a medium density use case. Restaurants, healthcare offices, those are absolutely medium density. This has a built-in additional radio. So you have a 2.4 gigahertz radio, 5 gigahertz radio, and you have a third radio, which is dedicated for wireless intrusion prevention system. That's WIPS. That's WIPS security and also RF management. So this AP will constantly be behaving as both an access point and a security device for your wireless airspace. Really good value for the purchase there. However, because of that third radio, this also requires the higher input power of PoE Plus. And last but not least, our fire breather. This is the AP420. It's our high density Wave 2 product. It's a 4x4 multi-user MIMO product. You're going to see around 800 megabits per second on 2.4 gigahertz, almost 2 gigs per second on 5 gigahertz. Now note, it has 2 Ethernet ports and it supports link aggregation. So if you want to get maximum throughput and performance out of this high density AP, you're going to run 2 network cables to this, and you're going to enable link aggregation on your switch, and that will produce the highest performance possible out of the product line. So we say the best use cases for this would be your high density environments, trade shows, auditoriums, big conference rooms, or those classrooms in maybe a college or junior college level where you have 50 plus people in a small area all connected to the same AP. That would be an excellent choice for you all to consider. Now, with the hardware out of the way, this is the way it always works at WatchGuard. You first size the right access point for your customer's environment, and then you have to think about what management license or management subscription you would like applied to that AP. So we offer 3 licenses, and going from right to left, basic Wi-Fi is the management license, where the access point is actually operating in a reduced feature set mode, but it's managed by the Firebox. That's our UTM security appliance. There's actually a lightweight Wi-Fi controller built into that firewall. We don't recommend more than 20 access points per firewall because this is really a lightweight feature set for the very, very lightweight use case scenario. Secure Wi-Fi is the license where the AP is managed directly from the Wi-Fi cloud. So technically, you do not need a firewall to be present in the network. Of course, we recommend one for best security posture, but you could actually install this anywhere regardless of what kind of firewall is installed. An important feature included here is a much broader feature set around Wi-Fi, just managing Wi-Fi, and really important here, the verified comprehensive security. So the security aspects of the product turn on with a secure Wi-Fi license. And a total Wi-Fi license, it adds 2 check marks, as you can see from the table, called guest engagement tools. That's a fanciful way of saying splash pages. So if you've ever been to airports or office buildings that have a nice looking pop-up splash page to join the guest Wi-Fi, that's included with total Wi-Fi, as well as location analytics. And I'll do a demo for you all so you can get an understanding of what are location analytics with Wi-Fi and why would your customers care. So in general, when your AP is managed by total Wi-Fi, so that's the Wi-Fi cloud, there's really 4 big feature set areas, and I'll focus on these 4s when I do that live UI demo as well, so you can get an understanding there. But on the top left, this system, the Wi-Fi cloud, is using some patented Wi-Fi security technology. So hands down, no other access point on the market does Wi-Fi security quite like WatchGuard does, and I'll explain that in a moment. It also is able to scale in the top right. I think I already mentioned that, but it's important to note, you have to grow your services with your customers, and you really don't want to be dealing with having to have very big, bulky capital expenditures along the way in terms of having to buy new Wi-Fi controllers or new licenses. This just lets you, add on more APs to an existing account, and that's the only thing you have to add on as your customers grow. And the bottom 2 will make a lot more sense when I show you a live demo of what those are about analytics and splash pages. So regarding security, I think it's definitely worth mentioning because yourselves are out there managing your customers' networks, and you know what Wi-Fi is. You know what Wi-Fi does. Of course you do. But the kind of dirty little secret of the Wi-Fi industry is Wi-Fi hacking is still very, very much a problem, and it's really easy to do. And almost nobody has technology installed into their network to even detect Wi-Fi hacks. And Wi-Fi hacks are very simple. People being able to intercept traffic. And that means intercepting emails and passwords and injecting malware into web pages and tricking people to downloading it. And now they have backdoor access onto people's computers. So WatchGuard has been leading the way at really trying to wake the Wi-Fi industry up around security and Wi-Fi hacking. And we partnered with a test laboratory called Meyercom, and they actually did the first independent test around Wi-Fi security against what's known as the 6 Wi-Fi threats are on the left-hand side here, and I'll explain those in a second, using a WatchGuard AP420, one of those models that we just showed. And it's a very simple test. Can the AP automatically detect and automatically prevent each one of these security threats? By the way, these security threats have been alive and well for over 20 years. Imagine if I was on this webinar speaking about some kind of malware or virus that's been around for 20 years. Sounds crazy, I understand, but that's where the Wi-Fi industry is. These attacks are widely known for over 20 years. Well, everything's on YouTube of how to do these attacks. And we had Meyercom compare WatchGuard versus Aruba and Meraki and Ruckus. And P means that the test passed, and F means that the test failed, and an NA means the product didn't actually have a feature to support that particular test. So it shows that, the industry is not really been focused on Wi-Fi security. WatchGuard has a much different take on this. And we even say to all of you and to everybody that hears our presentations, we are here to not just replace other vendors' access points. We're here to protect them as well, right? So if your customers, and I bet everybody's customer already has access points or a router or something in their network giving them Wi-Fi access, I can almost guarantee they're wide open to those 6 Wi-Fi hacks. You can close that security gap by deploying WatchGuard APs, like the AP125, for example, and you can configure that not to be an AP, but you can configure it to be a dedicated wireless security sensor, and it will actually protect any other brand of access point that your customer already has. And then you can show your customer, we've closed that nasty security gap on your wireless attack surface. And you can show them nice looking reports about how that works and what kind of threats you're blocking. So I highly recommend you all to check out on the WatchGuard website what's known as WIPS overlay, so a WIPS overlay. Very good subject to do a little reading on. Scalable cloud management, I can't stress this enough. I've been a VP of operations at an MSP a while ago, and I understand the stress of reaching the capacity of the gear that you sold your customer, and they're on a fixed fee contract, and they're growing, and they're hiring people, and they're opening offices. Inside the Wi-Fi cloud, when I get to this demo, you'll see how easy it is to scale to multiple offices, more employees get hired. It's really stress-free from an MSP perspective, and I'll be happy to show you all that in the demo. Same with the Wi-Fi analytics. This is a feature set with total Wi-Fi, where the access points are actually tracking the physical location of where people are. So people have phones and watches and laptops, and our system is triangulating their location. And when you can locate people, you can do some really cool analytics with, and they can be fully anonymous or they cannot be fully anonymous, about how often people return to certain locations, how many minutes they spend in different areas of a business, and should people be there or not. So I'll show you that when we get to the demo. And then these are some example splash pages created inside of the Total Wi-Fi feature set. You do not have to be, and I am not, a professional web developer to provide your customers with some really professional looking splash pages that they maybe only think were possible if they were a very large company. You can bring that amazing looking experience to their company at a really affordable price, and you don't have to have any kind of expertise in that area. Troubleshooting. Oh, I can't stress it enough. When anybody has an issue, any one of your customers can't print or can't access the dental software or whatever it may be, they're always blaming you and your Wi-Fi or you and your network. And it may not be your fault. It might be that their internet provider's DNS server is really choking and it's having a high latency issue. That's exactly what WatchGuard's here to do for you, as we help you, the MSPs, get the answers to exactly why someone's having a performance problem. I'll show you this tool. It's called Discover, and I think you'll really enjoy looking at that demo. Before I get into the demo that I keep teasing you on, I did want to make sure that you realize if you are a WatchGuard partner already, and you already have access to the WatchGuard Partner Portal, there are some great resources for you. Number one, the expert support on building a design. You do not have to be experts on recommending a certain access point model and how many of them and where to install them for your customers. You can actually log in to the partner portal at WatchGuard, and that's the URL is in the bottom of this slide. You'll fill out a form letting us know about your customer's project, and our team will actually do a simulation for you, telling you what model of AP we recommend, where to install them, what kind of signal strength you can anticipate, and you can actually use that as your sales proposal to your customer. So highly recommend going there. That's a free of charge service to any WatchGuard partner. All right, we're almost there, everybody. Real demo here. You can also, by the way, you can follow along during or after. This is a public demo that I'm using, and it's available right from our public website, watchguard.com/Wi-Fi demo. And it will get you into a anonymously populated cloud environment, and you can actually poke around and do everything that I'll be doing here in the next few minutes. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Get this going. Okay, I'm assuming everybody can see me here. Otherwise, Tim will jump in and let me know if you can't. So what I've clicked on so far is what we call the Launchpad. This is the first interface that you see after you buy a WatchGuard access points with either a secure or a total Wi-Fi license. You activate it, and now you are presented the Wi-Fi cloud. And this is the Launchpad of the Wi-Fi cloud. And you have different buttons to begin with here. If you purchased secure Wi-Fi, you would see Discover, Go, and Manage. You would see those three buttons. And Go, which I will show you first, is a very simple mobile phone optimized web application to do a very, very 60-second or less configuration. Manage is the more full-featured management area, and Discover is really where you do all of your troubleshooting and monitoring. So I find out that 99% of your time is actually spent in Discover. You know, once you configure the AP for your customers and they plug it in, or you plug it in, you're inside Discover making sure everything's okay. If you purchase Total Wi-Fi, you would get these two as well. This is Analyze for location analytics and Engage for the splash page engagement. So the first thing I wanted to show you all was Go. And this is Go. You can see on my screen it looks like it's been optimized for a mobile device, which it has. So when you have Go, and this is what I recommend everybody doing, if you've never played with an AP from WatchGuard, get yourself a secure or a total Wi-Fi AP, only tap on Go, and I'll show you what the process is. It's as simple as a home user would be doing it. But you add a Wi-Fi network, and I'm going to make this a private SSID called, hello tag, and we'll give this a super secret password of super secret PW. And I'm going to save that. And if I click this button to turn it on, that means that any of my APs that I purchased, when I plug them in to an Ethernet cable and it calls to the Wi-Fi cloud, which is a public service, it's going to pull that configuration down, and it's going to be broadcasting hello tag with that password. That's the only configuration that I needed to do. So very quick, very simple. All of the other configuration has been done for me on the back end. I'll show you really, really quickly. If you did want to get into more advanced features, you totally can. You can go into turn on DHCP, so the access point would actually be a DHCP server. Really great for very small offices that maybe don't have DHCP on site. And you can even turn on content filtering on the AP. And you can maybe say, right, the office should not be looking at websites which have security vulnerabilities or pornography or extremism content. You can turn that on, and you'll actually stop that office from looking at websites they should not be appropriately looking at during business hours. So that's just a quick overview of what Go is all about. It's really your initial, very quick setup. Once Go is turned on and you're broadcasting Wi-Fi, you would click on Discover. And Discover is where you kind of monitor your network. So this is the Discover interface, and again, it's where you'll probably spend about 99% of your time with your customers. And the first thing I'll mention here is on the left-hand side, if I click this navigator, you'll start to see some folders. And you'll notice the folders can have subfolders and so on. And at the very end is a floor plan. And these folders are really, really interesting for MSPs because you can have one folder per customer, for example. You can see all of your customers in one spot. And as customers grow, they have multiple locations or multiple floors within a building, create them another folder and organize your network that way. And now you can get a very nice picture of drilling down to just that customer or just that location. And you'll see when I click on things, when I click on a folder on the left-hand side, the data on the right-hand side is reflecting that folder and all of its subfolders. So I'll go back to the top, and I'm just looking at an aggregate view here, and I'll get that out of the way. So very important, if you've ever had to manage networks, and I bet everybody here has, you first want to know, are people connecting? And that's what this tab connectivity is all about. It's telling me this is known as a client journey. 349 people, and this is a live dashboard, are trying to connect right now. 0 of them failed to associate to the access points. So there's multiple access points across all of these networks. This is a worldwide network that I'm looking at. But nobody is failing to connect to the AP. That means the APs are okay. They're operating as expected. But 2 people failed to authenticate. One of those people are typing in the wrong Wi-Fi password, and one of them is actually having a radius authentication failure. And I'll click on that in a minute to show you how you drill in to get the answer. But if your user is reporting an issue to you, I can't connect, your Wi-Fi is terrible, and they're one of these people, you're going to be in a much better position to respond back to them like, are you sure you're typing in the right password? Because I have evidence that you're not. It's going to be much easier to do. And 3 of them are facing network failures, not related to your Wi-Fi, right? So this means 1 is experiencing a DHCP failure, so they're not receiving an IP address. 2 of them are not able to resolve DNS queries, so they can't get on the internet. They can't browse the web. They can't access anything because they can't resolve a DNS query. And that means that I've got 5 people that are very upset right now. And that's your powerful tool to see that at a high level. This is a baseline showing clients affected by failures. And I can look back to even a week's worth of data here. This is really powerful because if I hover my mouse, give it a second to pop up there, this is the percent of clients that cannot connect. And it establishes a normal baseline, and it tells me that actually, on this network, it's actually very clean. 0.2% of clients, on average, fail to connect. But these red dots are anomalies. And on this day, July 21st at 7:30 a.m., there was an authentication failure, which meant that 2.1% of my clients experienced a connection failure, and my baseline is 0.2%. So that is quite a bit higher than my baseline, and it's a red dot, and it's an anomaly. And the Discover system here can kick off an email to maybe yourselves or your ticketing system to create a ticket to say, hey, this network is experiencing an anomaly, and your technicians should really check it out and let your customer know what the issue was. For sake of time, I'll keep moving, but there's more here. I'm clicking on performance now. So the first tab was connectivity. You've probably connected to Wi-Fi in your professional lives and your personal lives, but the Wi-Fi is pretty slow. That's all about performance, and that's what this tab is here to show you, is people are connected, but are they connected at a fast speed? And if they're not connected at a fast speed, exactly what's the problem, and how can you resolve that? So this top window here tells me, for example, of those few hundred people, 2 of them are sticky. They're sticky clients. And if you hover your mouse, you'll see that, well, a sticky client is a client device like a phone that's not roaming to another access point with better signal strength. It's stuck connected to one really far away. And you can solve that problem with a very simple configuration change. So you can monitor for sticky clients. There are 16 clients with low data rate. Below 20 megabits per second is considered low, kind of ancient times for Wi-Fi. And that signals you that you should look at the floor plans and see if you have people that are outside of your signal coverage. Maybe you need to deploy 1 or 2 or more access points to increase coverage in that office. Also in the top right here, very interesting for you all, every WatchGuard AP is constantly tracking the average latency, because when people feel like Wi-Fi is fast, it's because latencies are low, right? The time it takes to resolve a DNS query is only 18 milliseconds across all of my worldwide networks. The time to access layer 7 applications, everything from YouTube, Office 365, Google, every application on average takes 33 milliseconds. This is over the last 12 hours. And you all can actually set thresholds, and you can get alerts if anything goes above those thresholds. And it's an excellent way, as an MSP, to provide a different service to your customers than your competitors are, because you can guarantee every critical business application will have less than 300 milliseconds latency, or your money back, right? You can get creative on how you sell that, but this system lets you do that. There's also baselines and charts here that I won't go into for sake of time, but it's about making sure that you can see, is the network moving along smoothly, or are there problems, and you can drill into problems if you see them. If I click on the Applications tab, just something important to mention for you all is WatchGuard access points are monitoring user experience across these key, critical, very common applications used by businesses like GoToMeeting or Skype or WebEx. So if Bob, the CEO of one of your customers, is complaining to you that your service stinks and his GoToMeeting never works right, he might show up as an affected client, and you could click on it, and you'll be able to tell Bob that, oh yeah, I see last Wednesday at about 12:22 p.m. local time, your GoToMeeting session started to really have a high jitter and latency issues that was actually caused by your internet service provider. We called them. They reported like a failure in one of their redundant DNS servers. It's been resolved, so you shouldn't have any issues from here on out. But it's not GoToMeeting's problem. It's not your problem. It's actually the ISP. That's the kind of thing you can get to root cause here inside of Discover. Now I'll go back for a second, and I told you I would click on these people that are facing failures. So here's 3 people. If I click on the 3, it shows me exactly what 3 clients are failing. The first 2 are failing for a DNS failure reason. And actually, I'm interested in that. And I'm going to click on one of them, this Android device, to kind of drill into that Android device. And now I'm drilled into just that one Android device, and I'm presented with information going back 1 week ago about that Android device. It tells me that on this date and time, no reply was received from the DNS server. And notice there's a little hyperlink that says view packet trace. So for your technical teams, this is like a time machine. Have you ever had to tell the customer, can you please try again, refresh your browser, reboot your machine, and your technical team is just dying to get a packet capture trace of quote unquote the problem in action? That's exactly what this is. So every WatchGuard AP is constantly capturing packets, and when an anomaly or a connection failure happens, it will freeze about 2 minutes worth of packets and store it in the cloud for you up to 1 week. You can click on that link, look at it in Wireshark. You have to know what you're doing in Wireshark, of course, but it allows your technical folks to get better answers into exactly what the problem was. And this information goes back a week ago. It's kind of a time log of when they connected, did they connect successfully, what was their IP address, and so on. You can also see data rates. So for every single client, we've got accounts with hundreds of thousands of clients out there, but every single one has their own personal baseline of a data rate being established. So I just changed the view to 1 week, and it's telling me that this particular Android device has an average baseline speed of around 35 megabits per second. And on this day, we had a bunch of red dots, a lot of anomalies. The average data rate was 14, and that's well below our threshold of 20. So these red dots, if I configured it, would generate some alerts to let me know that this one client is having connection issues. That makes people feel like you're really monitoring their network and they really like that kind of a service. Also, for this one client, if they were looking at applications, we could see the last 12 hours traffic. We could see their last volume over 12 hours. And if they had any application session logs, so if they had issues with WebEx or whatnot, that would all be available here. Again, very powerful to have access to that at one level. And if you're managing a help desk, which probably most of you are, and people are calling for help, this search box in the top is phenomenal, right? So I'm drilled into an Android device, but if I just start typing AND, it shows me all of the client devices that I could drill into and all of the access points that I could drill into. So for example, if I wanted to, I'm getting a lot of reports about one access point having some issues. I could go to monitor and access points, and I can go locate that AP and really try to figure out, it's in this conference room access point. I want to take a look at, is this AP overloaded? So I'll drill into that AP, and I'll go back to the last week, and I want to know, what kind of traffic and how many clients are connecting to it. And this is a nice chart, and I'll hover my mouse for a second here, that tells me, hey, on this day, there's about 5.7 gigabytes of traffic and 46 people connected. That's pretty good. That's not overloaded for this kind of AP. This is an AP 420. This was our big fire breather. And I don't see any of these numbers pegging to the top of the screen. So it's not an overloaded AP. It's perfectly fine. But you'll also be able to see for this access point, what percent of clients are experiencing slowness. So are people reporting issues connected to this AP? I'll go back and look at a week's worth of information. I kind of see a pattern. I see like these dots kind of jumbled together at a certain time of day. That could mean that maybe I have like a backup job accidentally going off in the middle of the day, and it's affecting people, and they just happen to be connected to that AP. So that helps you also kind of troubleshoot what's going on with that one access point. Something else I'll mention really quickly, there are plenty of troubleshooting features in here for you all. Doing spectrum analysis, if you've not seen that, very cool. You don't have to go on site to figure out if the microwave oven is hurting your Wi-Fi. You can just click this button and let the spectrum analysis go. There's also something called client connectivity test, which is worth mentioning here on our demo together. A client connectivity test, and I'm getting to the meat and potatoes here, is where two WatchGuard APs connect to each other and they run a series of tests at a scheduled interval that you schedule. It does not interrupt client traffic, and they connect to each other and they are doing tests to make sure that these things are okay, that DNS is working and they can access critical applications, and they even do a VoIP test. So the two APs will connect to each other and do a VoIP call to let you know if the network can support voice over IP. And if you get into that area of the product, this is actually testing APs, cabling, switches, firewalls, and even the internet. So very, very good set of test tools for you all to go plug away at there. So far I've just covered kind of the meat and potatoes of secure Wi-Fi. The last thing I'll mention here are just two more areas. This is the total Wi-Fi feature set that I'm clicking into now. And I'm clicking into something called Engage. I said Engage was your total Wi-Fi splash page editor. And when you click on Engage, you're presented with templates. And if you can all use PowerPoint, I guarantee you can edit some of these defaults out-of-the-box templates. And everything is very, very graphical, very easy to play with. I will play with a background image here. Let's see if I have something that looks all right. Yeah, this is from our Apogee Partner Conference in Dubrovnik. You choose the background image. All the text, again, is easily editable by yourselves. The main big feature here is that you don't have to be an expert at graphic design. Everything is templated for you, and your customers will really enjoy these kind of plugins. If they'd like to authenticate people with, get 10 minutes free Wi-Fi if you click here and skip the splash page, or get an hour free Wi-Fi, ultra high speed, if you log in with Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. That's kind of how the story goes. You can also have people have a code texted to their cell phone that they have to type back into the splash page. You can have them watch a video, fill out information on a web form about who they are, and all those kinds of splash page experiences you've had probably at different businesses around the world. They're available in here. It's a really great feature set, and I highly encourage you all to check that out, because your customers are probably thinking this is out of their reach, maybe out of their budget or too complicated, and it makes great sense for you all to be providing this as a service back to your customers in general. And the last area is called Analyze, right? So I just covered splash pages. Analyze is about location analytics. So this is all about triangulating where people are. And what's on my dashboard right now is I'm looking at the same network, and it tells me that over the last 30 days across all of my customer networks, about 6.26 thousand people have been within range of an access point. And 2.79 thousand of those came into one of the buildings in my customers' networks, which means that 45% of people that are roaming around the outside buildings of my customer networks are actually coming inside. That's known as a storefront conversion. And people that actually use the Wi-Fi, right? So they log into a splash page and they log in with social media. you can deduce that 49% of those people are male and 51% are female, and most of them appear to be between the ages of 15 to 44. And across all of these networks, it takes about 5.36 days before a person comes back to one of those locations. And I'm just kind of going through, why is this useful? Well, if your customers are CEOs, business people, marketing people, they will absolutely love you for these kind of metrics. For example, if you have a customer with multiple locations and they'd like to know footfall over the last 30 days, you could even go back 1 year. But this shows me that I have all these different locations on the bottom, like horizontal axis, and the wine cellar is getting the most unique daily visitors, 2,874 visitors every single day to that one location. The coffee house is only getting 1,681. Your customers, if they are interested in getting more people into their business, they will love to know this information, and they'd love to figure out, is it because they're in a better part of town? They're at like a really primo real estate placement within a strip mall, etc. Really great data to show them. There's also the ability to actually download profile information and use as marketing information. So your customers, if they have a marketing department, or maybe they've heard about this is very popular nowadays, as guest Wi-Fi users authenticate, you can download their information and hand it to your customer, and they'll have information about their name and gender and their birthdays. Very popular in restaurants, even in medical offices where they maybe don't have all the information about their patients. They'd love to know, send out a happy birthday email to these people. This is one way that they do that, and they get that information. And one last thing to show here is under floor plans, you can see a heat map, kind of a view of, there's one access point located here, one access point located here, and this is a floor plan of a gym, a fitness center. And over the last 7 days, on average, under the AP, about 10 people have been within that area. And versus this area, only 2 people tend to be right here on average. And that's over the entire day. I could look at certain times of day. So people really enjoy those feature sets to figure out where people are going, what they're doing, etc. So I've kind of hit the high levels of those big feature areas that I talked about of the Wi-Fi cloud. And I think what I'd like to do now is hand it back over to Tim and see if we have any either verbal questions or Q&A questions.
The attendees are now unmuted.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it, and definitely thank you for spending the time to kind of go through this. I know it's a lot of information, but very much poignant in terms of what our customers are asking for when it comes to these type of, especially when it comes to the analytics piece of it. I want to open it up for questions, but before I do that, just kind of wanted to mention with WatchGuard that we now actually offer through the TAG program 100% of their available offerings, which obviously started with firewalls. We do have the cloud and virtual firewalls available. We are offering the AuthPoint multi-factor authentication product. And now with the addition of Wi-Fi access points, you have access to 100% of their portfolio through the TAG program. So we're really excited about that. And as of the last year and a half or so, the relationship with WatchGuard has been running really well. They've been a great partner. We're very glad to have them in terms of what they're willing to do for TAG members. So based on that, is there any other questions, any other Q&A, anything that anybody wants to bring up? You can go ahead. You guys are all unmuted, so we can take some questions.
When
all
will
right.
I have a question.
Sure.
When will the updated pricing information be on the TAG website?
It should be already. Let me double check. If not, we'll we'll get it up there. There should be a ability to download the price list. And if you go to the order form on the website, if you select the model, the Wi-Fi access points are in there, and if you select it, it'll tell you the baseline wholesale price to the member. And I'm sorry, who was that?
That was Kevin Thomas.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks, Kevin. Any other questions? All right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We very much appreciate everybody attending. If you think of any questions after we get off this call, you can feel free to email me, tim@tagnational.com, and I can either answer your question or I can pass it along to Ryan. Thank you very much, and wish everybody a great day. Thank you very much.